the die state for any tile is going to allow the state once it reaches its min health value, if it's been enabled, and or the lowest value being 0, it'll transition into a die state and then to a dead state. Die is going to be the initial time it actually registers that the value has reached 0. Then you can play a single animation, a one-time animation for it. You can change the audio for it as well and set this up. After the die state happens, it goes into a dead state, meaning that if you want the item to stay on screen and you just want it to appear and have a continual looping animation, then you can set that animation up into the dead state animation, along with an audio if you want to have an audio clip playing on it. There are 3 main options when it comes to, actually there's 4 main options that'll be here. There's 3 right now though. There is a disable tile, you have a disable rigid body, disable collider. So when it reaches the dead state, and you can do it where it actually happens before or after, but if you say disable rigid body and it was physics, then it would no longer bounce or move. If you say that the disable collider, then that means that anything can actually walk through it. It's no longer going to be a blocking point. You may still want the image to be on screen, you just may not want it to be interactable. If you say disable tile completely, this is saying that you actually want to remove it from the scene, so it'll no longer be visible in the scene. It's completely gone at that point. For each one, the disable on the tile, rigid body collider, all 3 of these have a timeout. The time to wait for this one, so if you have a dead state and you're wanting it to stay for 2 seconds and then go away, the rigid body timeout is saying that it's going to wait. Say you want to disable the rigid body, but you want to wait for a second and then disable it, then you can set the timer for it. And the same for the collider. The offset on die and the offset on dead, this is the offset forward and backward. So if you want it to actually move it more into the background, you can do that. Maybe it's a more of a larger boss type of fight and you want the boss to be in the background at the very end, then you can move it to the back side. Same thing for the dead state. And then for the swap front to back on dead, this is going to be when you're using the swap front to back, if you want the items to still be active in the scene in terms of being able to be in front or behind a player that's moving around, then you want to have this enabled.